God must have loved the nursery rhyme about the wolf and the three little pigs, because he didn't build his house out of straw or out of sticks. He built his church out of the cornerstone. There's your cheesy opening for you. Let's talk about Ekklesia. Hi, my name's Logan Feldkamp. I'm the Pastoral Minister here at St. Christopher Parish, and I would like to welcome you to our reflection on Ekklesia. You might be asking, Logan, what's Ekklesia? Well, Ekklesia is a Greek term that would be used during the time of the New Testament to describe gatherings of people, typically for a religious or political purpose. So prior to the writing of the New Testament, historians and Jewish writers would use this term to define gatherings of people, whether it be for political voting or for religious liturgical purposes, or for another means of gathering. And so when we begin to see this term being used in the New Testament, it's our early apostles and our gospel writers who used this term to describe the growing Christian communities who are actively evangelizing, gathering, and celebrating the mysteries of Christ. Let me give you an example of how the term Ekklesia would be used by our early New Testament writers. Here's a passage from Acts chapter 12, verse 5. So Peter was being kept in prison, but prayer for him was being made fervently by the church of God. And so we see here the writer of Acts does not say St. Christopher Church, St. Raphael's Church, the Church of Jerusalem. Prayer for Peter was being made by the entire church of God. I'm going to reread this passage for you, but I'm going to substitute a word in there for church, and you'll see how it makes perfect sense. So Peter was being kept in prison, but prayer for him was being made fervently by the people of God. So we see here that term people fits the sentence of the passage perfectly. That's because prayer was being made by the universal church for Peter during this time. It wasn't being made by a very specific congregation that was located inside of a church building. It wasn't being made by people gathered in a field. The church is not defined by a specific space. It's defined by the gathering of people, the public gathering of people. Well, what does this definition of Ekklesia mean for us today? Well, our vision of church in 2020 is very different than it was in the early church. In fact, our vision of church in 2020 is much more different than it was in 2019. The early church, they would have known the practice of church, the gathering of churches, getting together in an individual's home with the immediate family and nearby neighbors. It would have been small and intimate. Church in 2019 would have been hundreds of people gathering in St. Christopher Church or in another church that you might attend to share Eucharist, gathering together to sing psalms. Church in 2020 is radically changed, especially over the past month. Church has been about staying together with our families in our homes, gathering with the larger community online, using websites and social media platforms. It's amazing how, in the course of a month, our definition, our practice of being church has gone from this very updated gathering in large numbers on Sunday each day to gathering again more intimately with our immediate families, perhaps our neighbors, in the same way that the early church would have gathered. So is this a rapid change in our definition and our understanding of church? Yeah, it is. This is a changing time. But our definition of church is not lost. Like our funeral rite says, as we commend a recently deceased individual over to the hands of God, life has changed, but not ended. It's from the Eucharistic prayer of the funeral rite. And so while we are in this sad time, this difficult time of anxiety and crisis, it's important to remember that our definition of church isn't dead. It's simply changed. It's being influenced by the Spirit. It's being given new life. So, stay people of hope. Stay people of joy, especially in this Easter season. Remember those loved ones around you who are currently your church. Remember those who are in your parish, who you are joining digitally. Remember our priests, our lay ministers, our staff here at the church. We're all still church. We're gathering together with you via these platforms. Our definition of Ekklesia is changed, not ended. Again, my name is Logan Feldkamp. I'm the Pastoral Minister here at St. Christopher Parish. Thank you so much for joining me. If you found this resource helpful, sharing would be fantastic, giving it likes, leaving comments. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us. Peace.